this Sunday. Is the pay-per-view this Saturday or Sunday? Well, it's official, folks. Jon Moxley can't read a calendar, but one thing is for certain. He is the current reigning and defending AEW heavyweight champion of the world. But will he be that after AEW Full Gear? Well, my time machine's currently in the shop, but if you happen to have one, then maybe utilize it, go into the future, see if you can see into the future, stop you from killing my race in the future. I already did that. I know you did that. And try to see if Jon Moxley will retain the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. But until then, we gotta talk about this show. I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Dynamite from Bridgeport, Connecticut, the go-home show for AEW Full Gear, or at least the go-home Dynamite, because we have a live Rampage this Friday. And speaking of AEW Full Gear, that live Rampage factors into when I will be doing my AEW Full Gear predictions, because, well, we have one half of the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament thing that's going to be happening. We have one finalist set, but we need the other finalist set. We have Archer and Ricky Starks. I hope it's going to be Ricky Starks, even though I love Lance Archer. There's some good stuff that's going to be happening on this pay-per-view card. There's also going to be some things that I really won't care about, but I'll talk about that when I do my predictions. And a live Rampage means we're going to get Surly Live JR. It's going to be interesting. I wonder if we're going to get Surly JR on the pay-per-view. Nevertheless, that's going to go back to the whole thing about the time machine. But let's talk about this show. Okay, the crowd was into some of it. And it was interesting how they teased a little something that could have been, could possibly happen with the main event of MJF versus Jon Moxley. There are a few different directions they could go. A couple that could work, and a couple that may not do, enough for the parties involved to get them where they need to be. Excalibur, Taz, Shivani on commentary, Ian Riccaboni joining commentary because Ring of Honor heavy, because the opening match, let's hear it for the Judas, and we have Claudio and Danielson against Chris Jericho, or Chris Irvine, the goddamn Irvine storming the Capitol again like they did a few weeks ago, and like some of the Irvines did on January 6, 2021. No, I'm not going to forget that, nor should anybody that actually cares about standing up for what's actually right. And also, Chris Jericho's a piece of shit. But that being said, Chris Jericho is also not a very good pro wrestler anymore, or a good sports entertainer. None of his ideas have been good, and Jericho has drugged down a lot of shit that has happened on this show. So it's him and Sammy. Look, I love Aubrey. I love referee Aubrey. One of the best referees going. They make her seem kind of ineffective here. And it was a match. It's to hype up the Fatal 4-Way for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship that's happening at Full Gear. Look, Claudio and Danielson are on a different level. Sammy just loves to land on his goddamn head. He has ability. He also is a complete goddamn buffoon. And he's listening to Jericho, who's a real big buffoon. Jericho's goddamn washed. So fucking washed. We get a top rope cutter from Sammy, because of course we do. We get at one point where he brings the bat in, and then we get swing, batter, swing, batter, swing, batter, and Chris Jericho gets swung by Cesaro, his giant swing, while the bat's there, and then he gets the sharpshooter locked on him while Claudio has the bat on his shoulder and gets the victory. So logic dictates that Jericho's going to retain, which I had a feeling he was going to retain anyway. This pretty much cements that. And we got a lot of packages. One thing I will say about AEW, they display their packages prominently. And I actually mean that both in the literal and dirty sense. And who do I mean, displays their packages, properly? You'll have to get into my head. Now I don't want to be in my own head, and you don't want to be in my head either. It's on Jericho, well, not on Jericho, but on Moxley and MJF, because Jericho, decided to dominate the first 20 minutes of this show by putting somebody over. But Moxley and MJF and other talking heads, good stuff. They present this stuff well. This is the kind of stuff I like that, AEW does. They present their main events, their big feuds, well in these packages. And then we get a black and white package on Darby in a body bag surfing, and then Sting picks him up in the desert. And didn't they do this before? And then Dud, Lethal, and Giant Silva Jr. are backstage, and then Jarrett gets on the mic and then yells at the cameraman to back up. How's he going to film you if he's not near you, Jarrett? You've been in wrestling for a while. Caster raps and makes a comment about, burning Swerve like Jay Leno. And boy, that was certainly, you're going to have to listen to it, because me trying to transcribe this stuff and trying to rap is pretty goddamn silly. Oh, Jay Leno's going to be all right. And acclaimed music video. They have Big Show as Captain Insano, going back to The Waterboy. You know, a movie that is almost 25 goddamn years old. That really has not aged all that well. Kathy Bates was great in it, though. Mock-up Swerve and Lee, they call in, and then Caster raps. There were some good lines here. Watch it. It's good stuff. And Billy being in this is hilarious since Billy's closing in on 60 and is doing this and is just as over as he was during his DX days. And still in incredible shape. However, he's done that. He's still in incredible shape. And then we have Billy attacking Swerve in the entranceway just because he's still upset about his hands getting broken. I would be upset too. And a bunch of officials come out and get rid of him and get rid of Caster. So you're thinking that Swerve might have somebody help him. Maybe Rick Ross, you know, that guy that cut a hell of a promo. And I don't know why Rick Ross was on a wrestling program in 2022. But Bowens and Swerve. Swerve is a tremendous heel. There were people questioning whether Swerve could be a heel. And I have to think that maybe they didn't see his stuff on the indies. I've seen enough of his stuff on the indies where I knew that he was going to do some really, really good shit. Work his face, work his heel, met him multiple times, nice guy, great representation of the Pacific Northwest, talented as hell. Bowens sold like crazy, got his arm targeted. They did this one almost pending lawsuit thing where Bowens just got dumped on the guardrail and into the fans in the front row. Maybe stop doing that. Bowens made a brief comeback, but Swerve did eventually, after snapping the arm, hit that sit-out driver, whatever it is. 1, 2, 3. He gets the victory. The Acclaimed are going to win. Swerve's going to turn on Lee, and there you go. But it was a fine match. And then we get a package on Nyla Rose, and Jade, I said, Jade, what's going on? I would have done the whole thing, but I'll save that for the review. Maybe I'll just do a boisterous thing and blow my voice out because it's fun. Nyla does not need Vicky. Get rid of Vicky. That's what I know. Jade, she does her normal stuff. Shivani introduces Samoa Joe to explain his actions, and Samoa Joe references like, oh, my colleague Paul. You remind me of my colleague Paul. Hopefully this goes better than that. When he choked out Paul Heyman in the lead up to, I believe, Samoa Joe's one lone singles match, as opposed to his second lone singles match against Brock Lesnar at Great Balls of Fire. For the Great Balls of Fire. I think it was Great Balls of Fire. I'm actually trying to remember because some of that stuff kind of blends together in WWE in 2017 because Jinder was WWE champion. It was one of the worst things to ever happen to professional wrestling, in or out of the ring. So, Joe, tremendously well-spoken, fired up, great stuff. Great stuff here from Joe. Then Hobbs shows up. He cuts a bit of a promo, and then Joe invites him into the ring, and then Wardlow's music hits, and we take a while, and then Wardlow attacks Joe, manages to hit a spear, and then the Butcher and the Blade, the Dark Order, I think the factory, about 20 million people run out there. We will see you this weekend for the Royal Rumble, trademark, and literally 20 guys come out, and then the Dark Order look at Wardlow. They're not going to stop him. They're like, nope, we're good. We're absolutely good. And then Wardlow dives on all 20 guys, except the Dark Order. And boy, there was a lot of stuff happening in this, and I'm a little bit worried. We're going to get a three-way. Easy for me to say. We're going to get a three-way at Full Gear. Oh my. Big, meaty men slapping meat in a three-way. But that being said, are we going to make it for all the championships? I mean, what are we going to do? Because they could tweak this thing around. Oh, well. It was what it was. It wasn't dull, but it was a little bit like, oh, okay, we're just going to throw all this shit in. Britt does a pre-tape where she has a fired up promo about how she rose from nervous Nelly all the way up to like one of the pillars of AEW, that she respects Sarai for overcoming addiction, all that and everything. The pandemic era, how they kept the wrestling heartbeat alive. And I will give AEW credit, even though some of their shows were kind of dog shit during the pandemic era. WWE, plenty of dog shit during the pandemic era. Both companies kept going. AEW, I gotta say, did better shows. They made better use of the the audience not being factored in. And then she mentioned Soraya, Defender of Abusiverse. fighting addiction and coming back from the neck injury and all that. And yes, that's great. That's great. Saraya, whatever, tomato, I will give a shit about saying her name when she stops being defender of Abusiverse. But Britt says this is her house. Britt Baker just turned face without even trying. Speaking of not even trying, let's talk about me not even trying to care about this next match. Top Flight, Darius and Dante are reunited. Darius is back. Good for Darius. Scary situation, scary injuries. Glad he's back. A.R. Fox, apparently a 15-year veteran. I've heard the name. I couldn't recall much that I've seen of him. He has a good look. They took on Death Triangle. So, it was a, trios championship match, and Rick Knox was the referee. Oh, fuck no. Fuck off. I don't want to see Rick Knox as the referee. I don't want to see Rick Knox. The Death Triangle need more pyro is what I know. Look, Fox got to show off. It was what it was. It was a typical thing with flips and doodah and all that and everything, and no psychology and no tags, and everybody just did everything, and they did stuff. And even when they tried to slow it down and do some stuff, it was just all blending together, and a black arrow for the win. There you go. And then Death Triangle challenged the Elite. The Elite are back. They got revealed in the graphic. So much for that third-party investigation. Tony could have just said, hey, we're going to send Punk home. We're going to buy out his contract and everything. I got what I needed from him. And we're going to go back with these people that, look, if you like the Elite, that's fine. They have not been proven to be ratings draws whenever they have, appeared, at least in the last number of months. Omega maybe initially got a bit of a pop. After that, nobody really cared. Look, there are people that will like them. That is cool. I don't think that they are going to be able to bring in enough fans and the perception. However you feel about Punk and the Elite and all that stuff, Punk brought in a whole lot more pro wrestling elements when he was there. The fuck the Elite bring in? More of the V-trigger, too sweet and all that bullshit and everything. And all the same shit they've been doing, except now they're older, slower, and in the case of the Bucks, balder. So I know what match I'm not going to care much about. And I praised some of the Bucks matches and some of Omega's matches in the past. The bloom's off the rose now. If the Bucks actually want to try and not do their same usual shit, then there you go. I guarantee you Rick Knox is going to be the referee for that match, which means it's going to be a train wreck. So anyway, this is stupid and expected at the same time. So, Starks cuts a promo. He's so well-spoken, so fired up. Says he's going to beat Archer, rip off his dreads, and just beat him with him. Beat him with it. I mean, whatever. He's just going to beat the shit out of him. Good for him. Ethan Page, he knocks Bandito. And then Bandito shows up, and Stokely's there also because it's Bring Your Child to Work Day, apparently. Every day is Bring Your Child to Work Day when Stokely's involved. Ethan Page took on Bandito in a semifinal AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament thing, whatever. Too many tournaments, too many battle royals in all of wrestling. And I love both those concepts, but good Lord. Bandito is impressive. Ethan has good... I don't care about Ethan. I'm sorry. He's bland to me. He's fine. I just don't care. And there were some cool moments. A huge Rana. Big press slam. A big old frog splash. 1, 2, kick out. And then eventually after a crash and burn, slam off the top. Shoulder block. Ego's edge. 1, 2, 3. Ethan Page advances into the finals. Then Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus, they get a package on them. Jungle Boy actually isn't too bad at promos when he's a little bit fired up and not screeching like he is having his balls twisted around like Anna Jay told him to take out the trash, and that didn't work. Are they still dating? Not that it's any of my business, but they seem like a lovely couple. I hope that Anna Jay doesn't screech like she... Never mind. Saraya, defender of Abusiverse, talks, and one hardly needs to go on about anything at this point. And then a pre-tape on Kingston and Ortiz versus Takeshita. I really should just come up with a different name for him because I can never get it right. And Jun Akiyama. Okay. Kingston saw a match with Jun Akiyama and said, this is what I want to do. I want to face this man one day. So it's going to be on Rampage. Tony Storm took on Anna Jay. bless Anna Jay for trying to get her away from the Jericho Appreciation Society. Remember when she had Upside? She ain't gonna have Upside listening to Jericho. The power of the booty, because that's what Toni Storm is known for using. She does that. She manages to get the victory. Good for her. The Texas Clover Queef, as I called it, because I am a mature individual. She gets a tap out, and then suddenly Jamie Hayter's music hits, and Jamie Hayter got a bigger reaction than Toni Storm, who is the current AEW interim champion. Britt Baker is going to possibly lose to Saraya, defender of Abusiverse, which I'm going to keep saying, and then we'll probably end up inadvertently costing Jamie the championship because they want to go with Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa to unify the championships, assuming that Thunder Rosa is going to be back soon. I hope so. I would love to see Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm unify the championships on the first Dynamite of the year because I'm going to be there. It would just be cool to see this thing come to a head and see these two very talented, very, very talented women go at it. But anyway, Jamie Hayter comes down, has a stare down with her, and I will be totally fine during that match, and I will be taking no further questions. Do not debate it in the comments. I will be no. I don't know how anybody could be. So Starks and Archer on Rampage, Athena and Madison Rayne. Oh boy, and Hook versus Moriarty for the FTW Championship. Wild Thing, you make Bridgeport sing, and Mox. This was confusing because Regal was there with him. He had some good lines, and he was stumbling. He was fumbling. I don't know if he was thrown off because he was trying to get a story out. He was trying to rush through it because they didn't have a whole lot of time left. I don't know if something went over. But goddamn, when he stumbled, I was like, ooh, God, and he's getting booed, and it was a little bit weird. And then the Firm suddenly shows up. Along with Stokely. Again, take your child to work day. I know children could run a Firm. And then MJF... shows up to a big pop. He has the ring, punches people out, and then he says, as I see you there, John, laying in what I hope is a very big amount of pain, and he says, I don't hate you, John. I don't hate you or whatever. I just need your title. This guy, he channeled a little bit of a pipe bomb, just tweaking a few words. It was good stuff. It shows that Punk meant a lot to MJF, and that feud actually worked, and it kind of went to... the greatest trick the devil pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist, and MJF's just great. I also want to know his secret. Looks like he's been living in the goddamn gym, and he says that he has to win the championship. He needs it more than he needs oxygen. Great stuff. MJF tearing the goddamn house down as he always does. And Moxley eventually stands up and, is fine and everything, back to at least somewhat 100% or maybe 80%, but he's staring him down. And it looks like they're about to get physical. But then Regal, he's staring between them as we close the show, and I think Regal's turning. I think he's turning. Regal's a better heel, even though Regal's well respected. But we'll talk about that in the AEW Full Gear predictions. And by we, I mean me, and you guys will comment. So yeah, that was Dynamite. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. By the way, that was the closing line is the pay-per-view this Saturday or Sunday. It's good line there by Mox. But anyway, agree, disagree what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.